really happy today to be joined by Ellie Pilla, who is Operations Director of Habitat, one of the market leaders in the battery optimization space in the UK and growing globally now. Ellie can talk much better than I can about that. But Ellie, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I know it's something we've been talking about for a while. I've been very keen to have you on. I think we first spoke in eWorld about this. So yeah, it's great to get it done. There's lots to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And we actually had the chance to speak in the past, and I'm looking forward to explore more of the topics now with you.
Awesome. So can we start with you like normal? So for anyone who doesn't know you, Ellie, you've got a great story. It'd be really cool to learn about it, how you got to this point in your career. Then we can move on to like understand a little bit about Habitat. But yeah, let's start with you first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's go quickly through the past 12 years or so. I studied my bachelor in Italy in engineering. And while it was very interesting to find out how the world works, I figured that was not what I wanted to do. So I did my master in Aalborg in Denmark in sustainable energy planning and management. And that gave me the chance to get in touch for the first time with actually energy trading. I started to work as a student assistant in Energy now, Centrica Energy Trading. And that gave me then the opportunity to actually access the trading desk as an intraday shift trader. There is a bit of a funny story there, which I think is useful for maybe, fresh graduates or people that are looking to enter the workforce. I was a student assistant at NEAS, but still I had to go through a formal process to be hired as a trader. I wanted to actually enter the graduate scheme, and I went on the interview, and it was one of my very first interviews, and I panicked a bit, and I don't think I did very well in that interview, and I didn't get the job, which is very fair. I then looked for other jobs, and it was not my first interview anymore and went better. I got a job as a trading support assistant in EDF trading in London. But after a few months there, I knew that was not what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be on a trading desk. So I went back to the head of trading at NEAS Energy and explained that I'd learned some more about the market and I wanted another chance. And well, I was very lucky because I was given the extra chance. I got another interview. I did a lot better. I got the job, and that's how I moved back to Aalborg and started my career as a trader at NEAS Energy.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I think just to talk about that bit a little bit there. I mean, that's a really good example, especially for people, like you say, starting off in the career. Just because you don't get that job with a company you might really want to work with the first time, you went away, you got some relevant experience, you showed a bit of resilience, you came back, aced the interview, and then got that job with that company again. So just because you get rejected once doesn't mean that's forever.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a very important learning for me, and I'm very happy to share it with the wider world. And then I guess I have another funny story how I got from actually NEAS to Habitat Energy. It was back in 2017. I was actually moving from Aalborg to Singapore with NEAS, so I was traveling quite a bit. And on one of my flights, I just started talking to the guy who sat next to me, and I found out he was a professor at Oxford University, and he was working with some PhD students on the business case for batteries. So obviously we had very interesting conversation. Obviously he had all of the technical knowledge, and I had a bit of the commercial knowledge, and we exchanged contacts. And a few months after, he actually reached out, saying that some friends were setting up a business, which now is Habitat Energy, and actually they were looking for someone with trading expertise. And that's what then, actually almost 1 year after, led me to joining Habitat. So it was obviously because the company was very new. It was a bit of a process, obviously, for them to exactly define their needs and for me to get convinced that it was a good opportunity. But that's how then I moved to Oxford and I started working at Habitat to set up their trading desk. That is now a fully formed and functioning trading desk.
Yeah, I mean, that's another cool story, another learning perhaps. Like, don't be afraid, to talk to the person next to you, whether you're on the plane or a train. You never know. I've had a similar situation before, sat next to someone on a plane in the industry. So yeah, that's a great way to meet a future employer then.
Absolutely. And it's been now 6 years that I'm with Habitat, and it's been a very, very interesting journey. We were 4 people at the beginning. Now we are around 90. So it's been quite a growth and evolution. And obviously at the beginning we didn't have clients. We needed to build the tools and and the case and convince clients that actually we knew what we were talking about. And now we are active in we have 90 people, and we are active in 3 countries, in the UK, in Texas, in the US, and in Australia, with live assets. So I would say it's a success story. And really the initial thinking behind Habitat was that batteries were up and coming, particularly in the UK. That was 2016, 17, right? The opportunity in the ancillary services existing at that point was drying up, but there was a pretty big pipeline of batteries coming to the market, and some of the investors were starting to panic, like what to do with their asset. And the founders of Habitat had this idea that actually wholesale market is also an opportunity for batteries, right? Ancillary services is not the only way to go. And I feel like everyone knows it now. But back then was a bit of a novel idea. And so they started by hiring some data scientists that collected all the market data, all the fundamental data, started putting together optimization models that were stacking the ancillary services and the merchant opportunity. And then when I joined, then we hired a team of traders. And then since then, we really worked very tightly, traders and data scientists, to make sure that the models were reflective of reality, that were usable by traders, and traders could provide continuous feedback to the data scientists. So I would say also this is like one of the strengths, really one of the intuitions of the founders from the very first day, right? That actually keeps going now, and we are using the same model in all of the countries. We have a strong team of data scientists that really understand the latest machine learning techniques, and they are very good at handling data, large sets of data. But we also have traders that have a very good understanding of the market, and that can provide this tight feedback loop to make sure that our models are not like something abstract that can be applied to the world.
Okay, cool. So just to recap then, just for anyone that's not fully aware of Habitat or even the space that you work in. So 6 years ago, the founders saw an opportunity in battery optimization. And am I right in saying that was very early for that kind of market?
It was maybe almost 7 now, because it was 2017. But yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Like batteries were really not. We didn't really have big volumes of batteries in the UK, and I would say not at all in other European markets, for example. And just the support that the system operator was providing to batteries through ancillary services was drying up, just because the offering was bigger than the demand. Right. And so really there was a window to provide a different way of monetizing batteries. Then obviously, since then we went through a lot of cycles, right? We had like new ancillary services coming online, and so new waves of batteries that initially could profit greatly from ancillary services only, but then as soon as the ancillary services started saturating, again, needed to revert back to merchant. And I would say that Habitat has been successful throughout these years, because from the very start, we were set up to be very nimble and agile to transfer from ancillary services to merchant and back, right? Being able to stack different services and really capture whatever opportunity was the best at the time.
Yeah. So when you mentioned like wholesale, which was something that you saw as an opportunity, like, could you tell me what that offering looks like? And because there might be people listening to this who don't really know a lot about batteries, but know it's a very interesting space. So you can tell us the differences between wholesale and ancillary services. I think that would be useful as well.
Absolutely. So obviously ancillary services are some regulated kind of services, right, that the system operator codifies. And there are some specific requirements, and you are normally paid availability. Right. So depending on the ancillary services, right, you are like your capacity is either fully committed and constrained by these ancillary services, or there is still some headroom to actually play around the the commitment, your capacity commitment. When it comes to wholesale market, you are like operating the battery in the maybe most obvious way. You charge the battery when power is cheap. You discharge it when the power is expensive. And when we talk about power being cheap or expensive, we can talk about day ahead power prices, intraday power prices, or imbalance prices. Obviously, that's you cannot capture in all markets imbalance prices, but in a market like the UK, that's something you're allowed. You do NIF chasing, right? So again, you charge the battery when you expect the imbalance price to be cheap. You discharge it when you expect it to be expensive. And depending on the rules that each ancillary service has, you can stack the ancillary service opportunity with the merchant opportunity, or you can stack different ancillary services together. I would say Habitat has always been on the forefront. So every time a new ancillary service came to availability, Habitat was there, among the first ones to actually offering this additional service to the clients. And that together with our very good understanding of also the technology of batteries, Habitat has preferred optimizer for our existing clients.
Because that was a question I was going to come on to there, was just to ask, like, why? Because I know in the UK, Habitat are like one of like the best names in the market. People speak very highly of you, and you are one of the leaders, if not the leader in the UK. Are you the leader? Like,
we think we are the leader, and I think we have reason to believe so. What we can say is that the UK market is relatively transparent in terms of like what different market participants and optimizers do, but it's not 100% transparent, right? So obviously there is some publicly available data that everyone can see, and we actually are among the top optimizers there. We also have our internal data that make us believe that actually we are doing even better than what the public available data say. Is specifically, you have no visibility of the batteries that are, NIF chasing. So anything that you do against the imbalance is not visible, and how you really handle your volumes in the different markets is not visible.
Okay.
So, but you definitely have visibility around the merchant kind of profile and the ancillary services activity that you do.
So the question, I guess, is like, why do you believe you are highly respected in this space? Why do your customers who keep buying new assets choose you guys to optimize? Why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, the performance results, right, speak for themselves. And as I said, the transparency of the market come only to a certain extent. But most of our clients have actually diversified their portfolio, so not 100% of their portfolio is with us. And the fact that they keep adding megawatts to our portion of their portfolio means that actually they can see from the real results, so not the publicly available numbers, from the real results that actually we are doing very well. It's also understandable that they want to diversify the risk, so they don't just transfer all of the volumes with us, but they definitely communicate that our perceived good performance is actually real based on their numbers. And I think that comes from a combination of reasons. As I said, from the very start, we had our own internal data science team that was working on forecasting and optimization, and we had them sitting very closely to the traders. I feel like particularly in big companies, it happens that you have the data science team or like the analytics team sitting in one room and the traders sitting somewhere completely different, right? And you have traders almost being the clients of the analytics team, right? So they just are on the receiving end, and then just they send back maybe a set of commentary. While for us, like, we're really working as a joint team, right? So we are very agile, very much able to adapt and to provide the tight feedback loop. Every time there was a new service available or new opportunity available, we had the ability to just shift resources to focus on this new resource, right? As I said, like we have a very good understanding of the degradation side of things. We have a large set of data that we use to keep retraining our models. And then we also provide a very much end-to-end service to the clients, right? So we are not just optimizing their assets, but we are guiding them also through the planning phase if the clients come to us early enough, through their service provider selection. We now have 20 assets live in the UK, and they are operating with a range of different O&M, BMS, and other service providers. So we actually have experienced different ways of integrating with the asset, different ways of handling assets, and we can provide also advice on that front. We provide advice on warranty parameters, because obviously what parameters are in the warranties are very relevant then when it comes to what you can do with the asset, right? And we provide them with kind of an open channel, right? Like every time the clients have a request, want to change their risk profile or have some concerns around the operations of their assets, we always have someone available to actually, cover the area of concern.
Cool. And something I want to just pick up on, you mentioned the data scientists and the traders working very closely. So do they work in like one team? Like, is it very much focused on that collaboration?
Yeah, so they're still separate teams, right, with the separate team leads and separate goals. But they are not working in silos, right? So there are lots of like working groups where actually the two teams come together, or representatives of the two teams come together. The feedback loop doesn't happen, on a monthly meeting, right? It happens on a daily basis whenever there is an issue. Like, let's say, for example, the traders have a new model live at the desk, right? And then they encounter a problem, or they feel like there is a feature missing, right? They can straight away go to the owner of the model and kind of point at the issue. Maybe, you can have the data scientist coming into the trading room, right? And, sitting with the trader, discussing about what's the issue and how to solve it. And then we can have a solution that can come within hours or, days, depending on the complexity, rather than having, weeks on end or months on end going with the open issues.
So there you've got very short feedback loops from problem to working together on it same day.
Correct. Yeah.
So that daily collaboration.
Yes.
And how important do you think that is in what you do to have that?
And I think it's also very important to kind of like speak the same language, because there is not just the fact that you are like solving the problems quickly, but you actually have less problems arising because data scientists understand what the traders are trying to achieve, and the traders also understand the challenges that data scientists have. Because if they were working completely separately, you would find yourself in a situation where traders think that, oh, they ask for a quick change and they think it's going to happen in the next day. And well, data scientists actually say, no, this is, a huge core change is going to take a month, right? Or conversely, data scientists implement a new feature or a change, right, in their model, and if they don't understand what's the impact on the traders, you really face the risk of actually, the waterfall effect of a small change to really be uncontrolled. So I think definitely there are a lot of advantages, and you can have traders and data scientists, for example, participating in client meetings, right? So really providing a full overview of like what the company can offer, and they can sit together to do some troubleshooting, problem solving if something new, unexpected comes up. And it's really like is as a matter of like the results, but also like the kind of like atmosphere that you have, right? The learning opportunities that you have within the company, and because they work so closely together, also like they onboarding someone new takes a lot less time because they are kind of exposed to the different areas of the business all at once.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And that's something I'm picking up here, but it's potentially needed at a place like Habitat. Then is so data scientists are obviously very strong technically, but with the nature of the collaboration, working very closely to traders, I guess is communication skills then like really important in Habitat?
Absolutely. I think obviously we hire for highly skilled people, but we also really hire for aptitude.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, when we go through a hiring process, it's not just the hiring manager conducting the interviews and making the decision. We involve actually the wider team and even the wider company in the hiring process, right? Let's say, for example, you're a data scientist, you will have your first interview with the head of data science, but then you will have a second interview with maybe a couple of fellow data scientists you would be working closely with, and then you will also have an interview with the traders, right? So that we ensure that we can understand each other, right? And while we don't need to be friends, we just want to be good colleagues, there needs to be some kind of like harmony and some good way of communicating across teams.
Yeah. No, it's really important, and it's something that I think often gets overlooked. But then the nature of like if you're going to work with traders, you have to be able to communicate. And yeah, so I think that's a really important theme that I got from that. Awesome. And then in terms of, you mentioned the markets, so that you're in and you're expanding. Could you go into a bit of an overview of where Habitat play at the moment and just give us an idea of what that looks like.
So, as I said, we started in the UK. So we are quite established in the UK. As I said, we have like 20 assets, over 600 megawatts live right now. We are live in Australia as well. Well, the really up and coming market is the US, is ERCOT. We actually established the company there just a couple of years ago, but with the recent announcements, we have actually a portfolio that is coming close to 1 gigawatt. That is due to come live by the end of the year. We have 250 megawatts operational, and the other 730 megawatts coming live later in the year. So that's a huge growth. And it's really exciting. I actually spent a few months last year in the US helping them set up the operations for this growing portfolio. And it's really exciting to see the team growing there, and all of the learnings that we could actually pass on from the UK to the US. Obviously that happened from day one, right? While every market is different and our optimization solution is very much tailored to the market, there's still a lot of learnings that we could bring from one market to the other. So hopefully a lot of the mistakes that we did at the beginning in the UK are now, avoided in the US. And the opportunity in the US, in ERCOT and beyond ERCOT, is really huge. You have renewables that have been growing over the past few years. You have this like extreme price volatility that we have experienced, particularly last summer in ERCOT, and obviously batteries are catching up now to support the system, and obviously to be able to capture this volatility that is there and is expected to stay a little longer at least.
Yeah. Okay. So for those who don't know, ERCOT, am I right in saying that's Texas?
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's the region for power.
Yes, exactly. And obviously there are different system operators in the US. It's a country, a very big country. And so right now we are focused on ERCOT, which is Texas. But there are definitely other areas of the US that see a growth in batteries install capacity. Hence, there is definitely a growing interest on our side.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So great growth plans, and already you can see big pipeline in the US. I guess it'd be interesting to know from your side, like what are the big differences that you see in the UK market compared to the US ERCOT market?
Yeah, so I would say like a couple of like very key differences is the price formation. So in the UK you have national pricing, right? And then the system operator, National Grid, needs to actually handle all of the internal constraints. In the US you have a nodal pricing. So pretty much every area is priced really based on the kind of like the balance between the generation and demand. Right, so you can have a very wide range of prices at the same time. So you don't only have like the time spread in the US, you also have zonal spreads that you can actually capture profit from with some cross nodal products. So definitely the kind of the market design is very different, right? Which means that in the US we have like some more problems to solve in a way than in the UK. We cannot just do a national forecast. In the UK we can do one forecast and we can cover both the day-ahead market and the imbalance market. In the US, we really have to be mindful of where our assets are located, because every location will have its own features when it comes to forecasting the day-ahead price and the real-time price. So definitely a lot more complexity in the models. Another very, very big change, difference, which really impacts the way we do optimization, is that in the US, you don't have a real-time market, you don't have an intraday market. So you have, at the ahead stage, you take your position in ancillary services, and you can take some day-ahead energy positions, but then you are fully exposed with the energy position. You have no way of re-optimizing your position throughout the day. So you have to be also a lot more precise with your forecasting, and you have to be much tighter in terms of risk controls, because whatever position you take a day ahead, you just have to carry all the way to delivery. And obviously, if you have an asset, you can, obviously dispatch against that position without being exposed. But really, there is no way of rectifying your position. Let's say fundamentals change massively while you're just exposed to whatever you decided to do at the end.
Sounds quite complex then. As a
It
market.
is, and as I was saying, while we can bring from one market to the other quite a lot of lessons learned, particularly when it comes to the asset dynamics and how to interact with integration of the assets and maintenance and stuff like that. When it comes to the optimization per se, really every market is a new adventure.
Yeah, for sure. And is it more volatile than the UK market, would you say?
Right now, well, I guess
I know it changes.
Yeah.
It can change from one month to the next. I do appreciate that.
Depends on the time of the year, but I would say that when ERCOT is volatile, it's a completely different story to like UK being volatile. Obviously, in the past years, we had also some extreme volatile periods in the UK. But if, for example, if you think about last summer in ERCOT, we had like pretty much 6 weeks of extremely hot temperatures that led to like a lot of stress on the system, and we had like $5,000 prices almost on a daily basis. And obviously, that's not like throughout the day. You have the peak at 5,000, so that's there is volatility because you have obviously opportunities to charge your battery to buy power at a much cheaper price, and then you can sell your flexibility at these high prices. Ancillary services also kind of follow this kind of trends. So both in ancillary services and in the merchant market, you can definitely capture very, very interesting opportunities.
So for like an expert optimizer like Habitat, then does that mean there's big opportunity for your clients, like you can make some big wins there for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say these events, as I said, last year we had these 6 weeks of kind of extreme events, extreme weather and extreme prices. But still, when you are working with data sets and models, we also have to be mindful that like these extreme events don't happen all the time, and it's kind of hard to really capture them with models. So that's also another aspect that I didn't really touch on before. Like having traders that interact very closely with the models mean that we are really ready to intervene whenever the model cannot capture the situation because it's just unforeseen, unexpected, like sometimes never seen before, right? And so we can capitalize also on black swan events where the model per se probably would struggle because of the lack of historical data that kind of signal this kind of instances.
And are you optimizing from the US? Like you have a team optimizing from the US the assets that you have in the US?
Yes, we have a team in Austin.
Right. Okay.
Which is a pretty good city, by the way.
Yeah, it seems like Austin. Like I was obviously in Denmark this week, and quite a few of my clients are opening up in Austin. It seems like it's the city where everyone wants to be. Whereas, like, traditionally, I think in Texas, it's Houston, isn't it? That's the big one.
I mean, Austin is a bit maybe younger and quirkier as a city. So I think there are a few reasons why we actually decided to set up in Austin. One is that we wanted to kind of diversify ourselves from the traditional energy trading companies that are mostly in Austin. And secondly, like the atmosphere, the kind of like the lifestyle in Austin feels, well, first of all, feels a bit maybe more European than Houston. It's a like fairly walkable city, for example, and we just thought we could like attract more like young talent in a city like that.
Okay, cool. So for anyone listening who is really interested in potentially living in Austin for Habitat, like, are you hiring right now? Like, is there opportunities for people in that country, in that location?
Yes, we have actually quite a few open positions. Both on the trading side of things and technical side of things. As I said, the portfolio is growing massively in the next few months. So obviously we need to ensure that the team can cope with it. We definitely want to stay, lean and efficient. So we don't want to become a massive company, right? That just because our portfolio grows tenfold, also our team grows tenfold. We really want to be effective and efficient, but obviously we need to hire more people when the portfolio grows.
Yeah, for sure. And is it just like because of the sheer size of the US and the opportunity for batteries that there's just more options for you guys to win assets?
Yeah, well, it's Texas is a very big state, right? So there is definitely a big opportunity, and they're kind of catching up in a way. They had like a big growth in renewables, and it's quite natural that with the growth of renewables, you need some flexible assets to kind of like absorb this variability from renewables, and this has not really happened so far in Texas, right? So it's really happening now, and obviously there are like some ancillary services that are very valuable, right, for batteries that make the business case easy. There have been some very volatile periods over the last couple of years, which also trigger more investments. So there is a bit of a rush to fill this gap now, not just in ERCOT, also in other US areas in system operators. So we definitely see a big growth in the installation, the megawatts installed in the whole US when it comes to battery, to really support the growth in renewables and just the stability of the system.
Yeah, cool. Could we talk about like the current market? Like, I guess the UK has that gone through a different kind of period in the battery space this year?
For sure. Like as I said, the batteries are kind of a new thing in Texas. Batteries were a new thing in the UK in 2017. So it's not been a very long time, but obviously there was time for a big number of batteries to come online, a big number of investors to focus on batteries, and a big number also of optimizers to kind of focus on batteries. So there is quite a lot of competition now in the UK, both in terms of the optimizers. So that keeps us on our toes. We definitely cannot just sit down and think, oh, we are the best. We don't need to keep progressing, because there are new players coming into the market, and everyone is kind of sharpening up a bit. So we definitely keep innovating and making sure that we are top performers. But the value that we could capture a few years ago, both from ancillary services and merchant, is not really there at the moment. In terms of volatility, it kind of died down a little bit due to more batteries or more flexible assets in general, kind of being able to stabilize the system, right? Gas prices are pretty flat, low, flat. So there have been a lot of interconnectors that came online over the last few years, right? So all of the kind of the triggers for volatility that we could see a few years ago, that was the high variability of renewables not counterbalanced by flexibility, the lack of interconnectors, the high gas prices, all of these elements are gone, right? But this doesn't mean that volatility is dead forever. Like obviously interconnectors can flow in two directions, so can provide support, but also create extra stress for the system. Gas prices, who knows what happens with all of the happenings in the world. So right now we just have to work a bit harder to just make money on our assets, and because of the large number of batteries now online, most of the ancillary services are quite saturated. But we have gone through a few cycles of ancillary services saturating, and then actually new services coming online and providing good value. And also when it comes to the market volatility, 2017 was interesting. 2018 to 2020, not very interesting in terms of merchant volatility. Then we had a couple of years that were very volatile. Now this died down again. So I think we kind of have to be resilient and make sure that we pull through this period. And the fact that we diversified so much globally, and we still plan on diversifying more whenever the opportunity comes, means that we can work on different fronts and just make sure that we are on top of all of the opportunities, and just ride with what is in there. So far, we have also been only focused on batteries, but actually we have an increasing number of requests around renewables optimization in actually all of the countries we're active in. So that's also an opportunity that we are exploring. And between batteries and renewables, there is a very large volume already operational or in the pipeline in all of these countries. So it could be that the margins slightly drop compared to what we were seeing a few years ago. But then we keep growing the volumes under management.
So when you say renewables, like optimization, what do you mean by that specifically?
One of the strengths that Habitat has is like very good forecasting models. So that enables us to manage our assets, our batteries in the best, most profitable market. We can do the same with renewables, right? Most renewables are actually have some PPAs arranged at some index prices. But if you actually are very good at assessing the different market segments, the different market phases, then you can add value to the existing agreements, PPAs that are already in place.
Yeah. So as you mentioned as well, the nature of it is it's a cyclical market. Volatility, comes and goes. I know it's hard to say, but do you expect volatility to return in the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
I leave that answer to the analytics team or the data science team. I'm not an expert in that front. I can have opinions, but I like opinions to be backed by data.
Yeah, fair enough. But your forecast then for you guys in general is what? More expansion, more growth in the US, more growth in Australia.
Exactly.
Do you see any growth in any other countries? Is there any other markets you're looking at that you quite like the look of and you're monitoring?
We are very open to it. I think now we have a pretty strong client base that is international. So we are very much open to move where our clients find opportunities. There are talks about some European markets these days. The German market offers quite interesting opportunities, both in ancillary services and merchant. Italy and Spain are becoming a bit more interesting because of the new kind of like regulations around batteries. We have heard like Eastern Europe is also looking to add flexibility to their system. So at the moment, we are not actively pursuing any new market opportunity, but definitely there are conversations around the pipeline that is forming in different countries.
Yeah. So keeping an eye on the European market, but I guess, is it client led? Like if a client comes to you with assets in Germany, would you potentially look at that?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously needs to be a conversation. It needs to be, an assessment of like what's the size, what's the certainty of the pipeline, what's the opportunity, what's the landscape. But definitely, we are open to conversations.
Awesome. And then, so we touched on earlier, like the types of people that you have at Habitat. So it'd be good to talk on about the values that Habitat has. It's obviously what you're doing is working. So like, what are the values of the business?
Yeah, so I feel like values is a bit of an overutilized word, right? Like every company has its mission and its values, and you have them like printed on the walls and whatnot. Because we are a pretty young company, and I'm actually very blessed that I was, part of these initial conversations about what matters to us and what kind of values we want to really live up to in the company. So I actually still remember we were maybe 8 or 9 people when we actually sat together and started talking about values. And we came up with few values that actually I really hold dear still now. And I think it's really nice that everyone who's joining the company actually is embracing them. It's like part of the hiring process is actually discussing about our values and how people feel about them. So our values are to keep a client-oriented perspective. Obviously, it makes sense. We are like a business that is supporting like green energy transition, sustainability. We really focus on helping others grow and succeed. So the idea is that we're not working in silos, and we have a very much of a team spirit, as we already discussed. We really want to build relationships based on trust. So we have a very good, team culture. We have also quite a lot of flexibility within Habitat, and this is possible because management trusts their employees, and the team members trust each other. So also, if we are not always in the office, right, we trust that actually work gets done, that and we are very much like results focused rather than making sure that we see faces, though seeing faces is also nice and useful. One other value that we have among our top ones is to embrace change and choose positivity. So, and I think that's very important in a sector like power markets, where actually things change a lot. We have to be very adaptable right? And obviously we make plans, we make yearly plans, we make 3-year plans, but we have to be ready to change them if the market condition changes, the client requirements change, if the people that are in the team change. Then we say we want to work smart and keep learning. So we make sure that also the personal development of people is actually prioritized, right? So obviously we need to deliver for the performance of the company, but we also make sure that the needs of people are covered. And if employees are interested in exploring new areas, particularly, data scientists are always like searching for new ways of doing things. We definitely leave space for that. And then the last value, but I think one of the most important ones actually, is live well. So we make sure that work-life balance is accounted for, and that there is a good like atmosphere in the company. So it's not just about the results, but it's also about like how we achieve them and how people feel about working for Habitat.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And then I think something that would be quite interesting to talk about is you obviously are on the EPEX Council now,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite a recent development. Congratulations for that, Ellie.
Thanks.
And could you just tell us a little bit about that and what you're going to be focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess talking about the Exchange Council, we also have to mention Quark Energy Trading, that is actually a joint venture between Habitat Energy and Liger Investments. Liger Investments is a company focused on financial trading, HFT, in financial markets. The idea of Quark came about a few years ago when the owner of Liger and one of the founders of Habitat met. They started talking about their jobs and thought that actually there would be some good synergies between energy markets and financial markets. I think the number of algo traders in the power markets is growing by the day, but it's still very much behind compared to financial markets.
For sure.
So definitely there is a lot that to learn and a lot to pass on from financial markets to energy markets. So we set up this company a few years ago, and now Quark is operating in a pure HFT manner in shorter markets in the UK and a few of the European markets. The reason why I'm mentioning it is because I got elected for the Exchange Council as a Quark representative. I'm senior market advisor for Quark. Obviously, Quark has its own team, but the bulk of the technical expertise comes from Liger, because obviously they have a very strong development team that has established all their algorithms in the financial markets, and a lot of the energy market expertise comes from Habitat. Yeah, I'm very happy to be part of the Exchange Council. I think it's a great opportunity to just interact with other market participants and to be a part of the decision making of the EPEX exchange. There are actually a lot of things in motion, particularly when it comes to the European markets. There is a desire on the European Union side of to harmonize markets. So there is a desire to go towards 15 minutes granularity in all of the different markets, to minimize the window where markets are decoupled. And all of these are very relevant topics for the market participants, because obviously we will be all heavily impacted, and the exchange also will need to take some action to adapt to these changes. We actually had the meeting, the first Exchange Council meeting a couple of days ago in Leipzig, in Germany. I think the makeup of the council is quite nice this year. Well, first of all, there are a few women, and that was not really the case in the past. And I think also there is a nice mix of veterans of the industry and younger participants, right? And the exchange was very lively. I think there is definitely a lot of interest in making things more efficient for everyone. There is a lot of focus on like the performance of the exchange platform with the increasing number of participants and of algorithms. The exchange needs to make sure that they have a very solid infrastructure, and that they are able to really adapt to the changes that are coming from the market, from the participants of the market.
Yeah, because this is a huge growth area, isn't it? Like when you think about algorithmic trading within the power markets,
Yeah.
it kind of exploded in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going on to Quark, then what you say is, I guess, a really interesting concept is you've got algo trading that's been traded in, that's been in the financial markets for 20 years. Liger, a HFT, high frequency trading, for anyone who doesn't know, expert in all those financial markets globally. And then they've seen an opportunity in energy.
Yes.
Come with an energy expert company to bring those two things together. And
yes.
It's a joint venture between Habitat and Liger.
That's correct. And, they're not the only ones. We are seeing a lot of new big players that are moving from financial market or like more traditional commodities to short-term power markets. So definitely the competition is picking up quickly, but I think the technology of Liger has a good edge in this market.
Yeah. So when we talk about edge, then it's interesting because obviously I do a lot of algo trading recruitment in this space. And the thing that I find most interesting about what you've said there is like focusing, I guess, on HFT. So that's like millisecond speed, which they're bringing expertise in. And I think that's a bit of an edge for sure, because I don't see a lot of companies focused on speed to the extent that we're talking about there. It's more like mid-frequency that I see, seconds, minutes. Going to the point that you guys are going, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there are probably many different ways of approaching HFT. I think really the strength of Quark is that we are combining the very refined technology, so the millisecond speed, with actually a good understanding of the market. Right. I feel like that what's happening now in financial markets is that it's all about speed, right? It almost doesn't matter what's your trigger, right? As long as you're fast in opening and closing the positions, right? So you don't need to become an expert in like what's actually driving the markets, right? You just need to be very good with the infrastructure. Energy markets are still very much like physical markets, right? So actually understanding fundamentals is really important. And then the speed is just giving a little extra advantage, right? Like you still need to be very good at knowing when is to buy and when to sell, right? Because if you get that wrong, then speed doesn't really help you. It's been a process to really, come up with good strategies that can make use of the speed while also having kind of a solid ground. But I think we are doing well. We are growing the team. We just hired 3 new traders. So it's very exciting to see this team grow and bring home some successes.
No, for sure. No, I can, like you say, there's definitely a fundamental. You can't get away from fundamentals when you're talking about power trading, but having that mix of both, I think, is certainly going to give you an interesting angle. Like it still feels relatively early as well in this space, so I think there's a lot of potential with this company. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, there are not many companies that are really working on the millisecond. And we have the capability to work on the millisecond, but really the technology is all sitting on the parent company side. Like we are actually hiring again for like aptitude for a good analytical mindset, right? For the ability to really understand what you can do with the speed, but then really focus on like the fundamentals, on the kind of signals that we want to act on. So the people that we are hiring don't need to be experts in HFT. Like the experience of HFT already exists within the parent company, right? And we are hiring a mix of like experienced and fresh graduates. Traders. Again, like we really want to create a very collaborative team, right? Where like the more experienced traders share their knowledge, and then the new traders are also given the opportunity to kind of based on what they learn and based on the data that is available, they're able to like explore, come up with their own ideas, and see if actually they bring some additional value to the company.
Nice. So obviously Habitat are based in Oxford, but like where are Quark based? For anyone interested in London, for anyone interested,
yeah.
I guess is that because of the nature of the types of work, the trading, quant trading there's more talent?
Yeah, so I think the reason why Habitat is in Oxford is that it actually started very tightly connected with the Oxford University. Like I was mentioning earlier, like the person who got me into Habitat, professor at the Oxford University, some of his students became the first employees in the company. The founders actually were based in Oxford because there are PhDs in from Oxford. So it just came naturally to like settle in Oxford. And then obviously not everyone who's working for Habitat lives in Oxford, but we still managed to just attract talent because I guess of the core team. Quark was a bit different. Obviously, we had to kind of start from scratch. We actually started in Oxford because to start with, the Quark team was very, very small. So we had them sitting with the Habitat team for team spirit, to interact with an existing team. But then when we decided to grow the team, to hire more traders, we just decided it was a lot easier to do that in London.
Right.
But the two companies still communicate and share information and knowledge where possible.
Yeah, but now it's like very much two separate companies, separate locations.
Yes, which probably is also better because obviously like both companies operate on the UK market in EPEX, and so you want to ensure that there are Chinese walls between the two trading desks. So having two completely different locations ensures that that's the case.
Awesome. Well, I think that means that you've obviously got lots to focus on as in your role with Habitat, with Quark, with the Exchange Council. Keeps you busy.
I'm not getting bored, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing to touch on is the diversity aspect, because you mentioned obviously the council does more, more women, younger people getting involved, and like, how important is that for you as like a leader in this space that is from like a diverse background? Like, what would you say on that topic?
Yeah, so obviously I'm a minority, being a woman in this environment, and I've been from the beginning. When I joined NEAS in 2015, I was the first woman on the trading desk, and while in Habitat we're really making an effort to hire more women, we're still a minority. We definitely have a target in Habitat to increase the diversity. We try to kind of cater to maybe more diverse platforms when it comes to hiring. We actually do outreach in schools to speak about the career opportunities in the energy business. Right. Obviously, that's playing the long game because when it's going to be a few years until these people come out into the workforce. But definitely, we are mindful that there is a need for more diversity. We actually have a women in tech group that formed itself within Habitat. So actually, we have some women in tech, which is nice. And Habitat also offers pretty generous parental leave. So I guess both for men and women, I guess, the idea of like having a work-life balance and having the opportunity to actually build a family while building a career is actually a possibility.
Yeah. And I guess for you, having someone who's obviously excelled in energy trading, like how do you think we get more women in energy trading as an industry? Like, have you got any views on that?
I think, we need to have more like faces out there. For example, that was one of the reasons why I was happy to come and talk to you, because I'm the first woman on your podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I'm actually hoping that, we have, maybe some engineering female students that are listening and thinking, oh, I didn't think about energy trading. That seems interesting, right? So I do spend time doing mentoring and coaching to other women in the company and outside of the company. I think it's really important to kind of like share experiences and kind of like really reinforce the point that, being a woman is not a problem, right? That, you might have maybe different ways of communicating than men, or maybe you might feel like you're not quite in the right place, but most of the times it's more in our head than the reality. I actually found all of the teams I joined very welcoming, even when I was the only woman. I joined the Exchange Council, and I didn't feel for a moment that I was out of place. So I think times are changing. Like I think people are actually happy to interact in a more diverse environment. It's just a matter of really getting enough young women wanting to study engineering, or after they've studied maybe also economics and finance, thinking that entering the energy space is an option. So I feel like really seeing more diverse faces. Now I'm talking about women, but I think that's the general conversation for all kinds of diversity. Seeing more diverse faces will actually just raise the kind of the thought that it's possible to actually have a more variety in this kind of sector.
No, absolutely. It would be great to see, people who've listened to this podcast, listen to your story, think, do you know what? That sounds like something that I would love to get involved in. Because like you say, it has a real purpose to it as well. It's, you're helping solve the biggest problems that the world is facing at the moment, moving into the energy transition. So yeah, the more diversity, the better, for sure. But look, Ellie, thanks for your time. Like I say, this has been an episode I've been wanting to do for a while. We've gone into a lot of different areas there. There's been touching on, obviously, habitat, the market in general for batteries, expansion. We talked about Quark and algorithmic trading, and such an exciting space there. So yeah, thanks for covering all that, and it's been great to have the episode.
Yeah, thank you, and speak to you soon. Take care.
Thank you very much, Ellie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.